Hello, everyone. Welcome to Manufactured in Africa. This is your host, Jonelle Mgwebi. We're still on the series No Ordinary Voices. This is the show that showcases role models, gives the African an opportunity to speak their story and show their narrative, as well as show people that no matter how small you may think you are, there's somebody who's like you, who's out there. So today I'm talking to Londiwe Khuzwayo. I mean, this lady embodies versatility, guys. She's like, go for it. Why not? She has done so much. So she graduated from WITS, my alma mater. That's how I know her. With a bachelor's degree in international relations and affairs, psychology and political studies. And then she went and furthered her studies at the University of South Africa. And she got an honors in international relations. So I'll allow her to talk about herself and her career journey because she's done so much from she's like a charity person. She volunteers everywhere. And one of her initiatives that I love is the Donate a Book initiative, which I think is very important. But I'll allow her to introduce herself and tell us about what she does. Yes, over to you, Londi. And thank you for coming.
Okay. Yay! I'm so excited to be here, man. Sure. First of all, I think I want to just start off by saying thank you. And I'm truly honored. What a beautiful introduction to myself. I don't take myself that seriously, by the way. But I truly appreciate it. And I love what you're doing, This is truly a very beautiful, very sentimental initiatives. I listened to other, interviews that, of your podcasts and just really inspiring, and I think a lot of people need to hear such interviews, in their journeys in life as well, especially young people. But I think as you've rightly so said, I am Londiwe Khuzwayo. I think just to be, brief on my background as well, where I come from. I was born and bred in KZN, Kwamashu in particular, so I'm a township girl. And I know a lot of people a lot of people don't believe this, but actually, yes, but then, so I was born and bred in KZN, Gumzulu Paka, I then decided to go to boarding school. I wanted a change of scenery. There was a lot happening at home, and I'm like, let me go a bit far away. Let me go to boarding school just to gather my thoughts and stuff. And I went to Heidelberg, which is obviously in Gauteng, and I got a taste of Johannesburg. My goodness, I think the rest was history. I then finished in a Christian school in Heidelberg, and then I decided to go to WITS. I just was like, I want to be in Joburg. I think that's where everything moves and goes. And then I think, as you did mention, that I did do my undergrad, Bachelor's of Arts, triple major, majoring in psychology, in particular clinical psychology, political studies, as well as international relations. And then I moved back to KZN. I had an issue of paying off my fees for final year. Geez, such a traumatic life story. But I think, I think as people, we've had this. That's why we had the Feast Must Fall movement, and it was it made me really happy because I was literally, even though I was not in that era and I finished long time before, but I've experienced that pain of not being able to graduate because you do not have the money. But luckily, eventually, once I was in KZN working in a small job, somebody who I still do not know, and I thank God for their life, cleared out my school fees.
Amazing.
Right. There was just that angel. And by the way, that's then how I then started my initiative, because I was like, great has been done to me. How about I do what I can to touch another life, especially a young Black life, and see how I can develop them, to be better. Yeah, so that was that. And then I did my honors whilst working and studied other certificates in between, like project management, capacity building, blah, blah, blah. And then I worked for an NGO because I used to love giving back. So I had my organization. I wanted to work for an NGO. But I was doing business development there. And then now where I work basically as a project manager working in developing small businesses across the country. So in a nutshell, I think that would be my career.
Amazing. You forgot to talk about how you have been a presenter in between and you're now delving into fashion. But that's okay.
We can get into it. No, we can get into it. I think
Yeah.
I think let me definitely touch base on that. So obviously because I work full time and always trying to study, but I do radio. I started off by doing radio, and then I started doing TV presenting as well as I'm an MC. So I do
Mm-hmm.
corporate, non-corporate events where I MC, become a program director, or I become a speaker or a chair events basically. And then now I've started my fashion business, something that has been my dream for years as a creative at heart. So I have a fashion business called Style by Tutu, and I'm just trying to make sure that it picks up now and I run with it. And I pray that one day it can become international, you know.
I,
So yeah,
oh my gosh, like this is why I wanted to talk to you because there's so much to talk about. First of
lots.
all, I like the fact that you don't shy away from doing things that are outside your space, like outside
Yeah,
what you've learned, outside what your day job should have been. And I
yeah,
like the fact that you're passionate about developing other people, and not other people, but yourself, because you didn't only
yeah,
stop at the degree. You decided, let me do project management because maybe that's a space I want to be in. And I
yeah.
so love that you're developing young entrepreneurs, because I myself am learning to try and be an entrepreneur, but that space is so difficult.
Of
It is so
course.
difficult, especially when you have no mentor and you have no one who's ever done business in your own
Yeah,
family.
yeah.
But so, like, okay, I don't even know where to, like, what to ask anymore. But I feel like you're such a versatile person, and like you've studied politics, and now you work in corporate as assisting entrepreneurs grow their business, and you've done so much work in the creative space as well. Like, what has driven this desire for variety, except for like what's given you the push? Like, why haven't you been scared to
Yeah.
like try? Yes.
So first of all, I like when you're saying scared because everything you want is on the other side of fear in life overall.
Yes.
So I have taught myself to come out of that. I think first and foremost, let me just tell you a short story about why I've become, allowed myself to explore and to do what I love. When I was in grade seven, I remember my favorite teacher of all time was my grade seven teacher, and her name was Mrs. Now.
Mm-hmm.
In primary school I was quite a smart child. I wouldn't say I was number one, but at least top 10, top 8, top 5 or whatever here and there, in
Yeah.
top 5, maybe not top 3, but I was quite smart, right? And coming from the
Mm-hmm.
township, you can imagine the confusion and everything.
I
And so I
can
would get
imagine.
awards and be, yeah, I would get awards, get recognized, and she did well and this and this. And I remember I used to then do so well in what is this, like orals, right? So I'd
Yeah.
kill them. Always killing orals. Like I was that girl, like, oh, Londi's about to do an oral now. I'll be there, like I'll
Let's
get
all
on the
listen.
sheet, like let's all listen, and
Yeah.
yeah, also then we always used to do concerts. You know how there was always that culture of concerts in primary schools. And I
Yeah.
remember my grade 7 teacher, she literally gave me awards for school, like doing well in history or whatever it is. I remember in grade 7, but my report, the one thing that stuck to my head and I never looked back, she simply said, Londiwe is a very smart girl. She can succeed in anything she decides to do. But so obviously this is a message to my mother, right? But if
Yes.
but if she really wants to be happy, she would need to be a performer, be in the creative space, a performer, or be in media basically, and you'll see what she will then become. And that was that. I was sold,
Amazing.
and I was sold, and I was like, right, I knew it. So I wanted to go to NSA, which is National School of Arts, and then my family, my mom was like, yes, she must go because she knew what my teacher told her, and she could see it,
Yes.
in everyday life that I was just creative and everything, and I was a performer. And they said, no, 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 this is going to be a waste of brains. It's not secure. You know it, especially in Black families. This is not a secure
Yes.
space. It's not sustainable financially. How do you know that she'll make it? No, and then that my mom was discouraged by siblings, and pretty much that was a wrap. But because I then knew, especially because remember that was like my favorite teacher and who believed in me the most,
Definitely. Yeah.
it stuck to my head that I am able to be a performer. I am able to be in media
Mm.
and be a speaker. And that's basically what happened. High school, obviously, I went to a boarding school, so we did a lot of programs. I was in a lot of leadership, a lot of speaking, a lot of performing and mentoring, So
Yeah.
more and more, I discovered myself. I did reps, which was like this, Joburg, acting basically
Oh,
competition, and I
nice.
was in there from grade 8 to matric. So I was always really good. And I remember another thing that stuck to my head. My one English teacher, who I loved the most, also was one of my favorite teachers. He was like, "I want you to be in radio." And I was like, "What?" I'm like, grade 11, grade 12. I was like, on those for people like out there,
In
about
the
Gareth
world.
Cliff, like in the world. And she goes, "I want you to be a radio presenter. I see it."
Yes.
And it was basically that. And my peers, I remember, did a survey as well, because there was something in me. I'm like, I want to go do psychology or be a lawyer. And then I asked
Mm,
people like my friends and my classmates, and they're all like, "Media, you deserve to be behind the screen and to be on stage." And
yeah.
it's so stuck to me then, there and there. I knew that obviously my family won't allow it, but I was like, I will do this one day, if not concurrently. And basically, that was
Yeah.
it. So I believed in myself. I knew my gift, not just talents, but I knew what God had given me in terms of a gift.
Mm,
And I was like, I'm not going to shy away, because I knew from a Christian perspective that if you have a gift and you use it, God will make sure that He sustains you in it and sustains the gift and give you more. And that's literally
um,
what I took. That was the mentality. Yeah.
Amazing. Amen to that, sister. I am so proud of you. And you touch on
Yeah.
so many points that affect, especially the Black community. Like, for
Yo,
one,
yeah.
I'm grateful for your teachers that were able to see. And I think
Exactly.
that shows the importance of teachers that are vigilant, teachers that love their job,
Exactly.
and teachers that are able to encourage children and
Mm,
kids that they take care of, to encourage them to
mm,
become what they want to be and what they need to be, and identify their talents. But the most important point that I think we should touch on, especially because we're both Black and we understand the Black community, and I'm not in any way trying to discount any white people or colored people or Indian people who
of
listen to the
course.
podcast from
Yeah.
listening. But I thought it was very important for us to touch on the fact that you couldn't go to NSA
Yeah.
because your family felt that it was not secure, which is the reality of most Black kids. I think that was important to talk to. And I want to ask you a question. Had Mrs.
Mm,
Now or Miss Now, so I assume they're white because of the surname,
yeah.
had you been told by a Black person that you could make it, do you think you would have had the same belief in yourself? Because I find that in our jobs, in
Sure.
university, we find that a white person gives us, as Black people, I find it that it's a common trend or thread, if I'm using the right word, that we often believe in ourselves when people that are not Black or that are not like you and me tell us that we can do it. Do you think you would have had the courage to do it had it not been a white person? Yes.
Yes. Yes. Honestly, so for me, I look at it in the opposite perspective, because to get for so my teacher, the one that I'm talking about in high school, was a Black man, an African man.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, so honestly speaking, so let me tell you, even now, because like I'm gonna say, like, I've got agents that have approached me and stuff, um
Mm-hmm.
it's known in the media space that if you want to excel, you rather go with a small white owned agency.
Yes.
So automatically, non-black people, in particular whites, I'm gonna move away even from like Indians, because I wouldn't say they too much into the creative arts and everything. But
Yeah.
white people appreciate art more than anyone. And
True, true, true.
so when they say that, obviously you're like, it's like my dress sense. If I'm walking, I'll probably be told by white people more that you look nice. But I
Mm-hmm.
actually think when a Black person says, Londiwe, screw your 8 to 5. Come on, man. Go do
Yeah.
fashion and media full time. I've had friends say that, like, friend, no man, you must be on metro like yesterday. Like, leave this thing, man. You got it. And I think for me, that's even a bigger motivation, because I know that they come from the background as me, but they've allowed themselves to come out of the shell and say, I stand up for what you are basically saying. So a white person, it's
Yes.
easier for them to see the talents and to see the creative arts and allow their children and and say, come through, I've got
Yes.
this agency. But when a black person says it, I know personally that it actually means a lot because we are so groomed to saying, go do your degree, go work for the big five or whatever. You understand? So
Yes.
for me, it's actually the opposite. When a black person says it, that's when I go, okay, that's for me is my
I
motivator and my energy. That's
yeah.
the thrill because it took a lot out of them to actually even to get to that mindset and that mentality. So I believe in that more by far. Yeah.
Okay, well, like, I really think we should talk about this art thing and then we're going to move away and talk about your
Yeah.
degree and all the other stuff. So,
Sure.
the thing is, what do you think we can do as the Black community, first of all, to appreciate arts and to, like, what education needs to be put out there to show people that they can make money in the media industry and entertainment industry? Because I find that I'm meeting a lot of young creatives at the moment, but they just don't
Yeah.
know where to begin. Do you think it's the education that should start from high school, or maybe we should have more of these platforms where we talk about how you can make money out of being an artist? So many of them stay with their talent and they find that they can't contribute economically to society because they don't know how to use their talents. They don't have the financial muscle, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have anyone, they don't know an agency they can approach, you know?
Yeah. I think let's be fair,
Mm-hmm.
in when we're talking about this topic. We have
Yes,
come a long way, especially let's look at South Africa.
definitely.
I don't want to go too much into Africa. I mean, okay, we can say Nigeria and Africa because in terms of the music, right, they are the ones that are
Yes,
taking us. If you look carefully, who are the people that are winning summers and we understand
true, true.
it's
Yeah,
black people. So
yeah,
one thing I am not concerned about is us getting to a point where art is gonna be praised like crazy, right?
yes,
So you get about AKA, you get about Kespa, you get about DJ Zinhle, you Bonang
yeah,
Mateba, as many Dlaminis. We growing. But they all obviously can
definitely.
tell you, they all can tell you, that their parents were like, what? You even talk about the late Mpurampuras, you can talk about the late Killer Towers. When I listen to
Mm,
their interviews after they passed away, it's the same story. Our black parents just don't get it.
yeah, they
They just
don't.
don't get it. They just don't get it. But the truth is that the people have fought for their passions and their gifts more than anything. And we will still
Mm,
rise in more, black people going into the arts and excelling it and taking Africa internationally. That's just the honest
mm-hmm.
truth, right? But I think the most important thing for me, it's like the initiative where our president Cyril Ramaphosa says, let's have entrepreneurship as a module inside high schools. The exact same
Yes,
thing needs to happen. You understand?
yes.
Because why? We are
Mm,
now working on a preventative measure as opposed to trying to fix the issue of, there's no
reactive.
jobs.
Yes.
As opposed to being reactive. Let us now actually
Mm,
make sure that people develop the culture of entrepreneurship and know that this the one way of going to school, studying accounting or studying this will automatically give you a job. It
yeah,
allows people to be flexible. So the same way that we're
definitely.
gonna put in entrepreneurship, we need to put in the arts and allow children to do that. So with me, the reason why in inverted commas I might be seen as doing great or whatever, it's because I studied what? A BA. There's nothing that
Mm-hmm.
will allow you to be able to explore and maneuver in careers in a BA. Do you understand? Hence
Yeah,
why I will study different things and be able to be in this career, even though I didn't study it in varsity. So
definitely.
we need to put that in the curriculum. The same way people will be
Yes.
talking about contraceptives must be part of the curriculum. I'm making an example. The same way we need to
Yeah.
allow that art, being an artist is this. And also, we need to also shy away from making art seem so dumb. I think it's like,
Exactly.
art is
They
so
don't know
dumb. And
anything.
Yeah,
Exactly.
or you don't even need to go to school for it. No, you do.
Yes,
You do.
definitely.
Zexbantwini went. Zexbantwini understand music, and that's why he can be in the UN doing ABCD, because why he gets the cracks of it. He understands the business of it. So
Exactly.
when we're promoting music, just the way we would be promoting being an accountant and you must make money, we need to promote the financial part of it. So if you're a soccer player, how
Mm,
then do you sustain yourself and become financially literate? So it's that
exactly.
balance of looking at art and taking it seriously, but also incorporating the survival part of it and the financial aspect and the business part of it. And I think we'll be okay.
Definitely. And I
Yeah,
think
I think we'll be okay.
universities, I totally agree with your chain of thought. And I like the fact that you talk about a Bachelor of Arts BA making you more
Yeah,
flexible, because it also teaches you about how to understand people. And at the end
exactly.
of the day, any business and any career, you need to understand people. But
Yeah,
this is such an amazing topic. And because I at the heart, like in my heart, I
yeah,
really really believe in the art space, because I believe black people, and more especially, are very creative people.
exactly.
We do art, like with beads, with people create sculptures, people in like the way we dress or used to dress, it like
Yeah,
those amapeshu, they were creative. It's not like somebody just thought of it and then they made a design and they used the most durable of materials, leather, like out
yeah,
of cow skin. But then let's talk about unconventional careers. So I feel like you've
yeah,
always been creative. I've always, when I used to see you at varsity, you used to
yeah,
dress like, your way of dressing was different. I could tell that you were fashionista at heart. So what,
yeah.
okay, you did say that your family didn't want you to go into fashion, but why politics? What inspired you? What is politics? How did you even know, how did you even know where you were going to work after that? Like what, like take me through that.
Yeah, no shame. Yo. So being a fashionista at heart is that's true. So, but you'd be shocked that as much as I used to like fashion, even when I was younger, I remember. Let me be honest. I come from two parents who are very stylish. So me and my
Mm-hmm.
siblings love clothes and are very stylish because our parents were like super stylish. This is in our bloodline. So
Yeah,
some things you can't really fight off. I just never thought that I would make
definitely.
fashion a career. It was the last thing on my mind. Let me be honest with you. When I was in high school, I literally thought I was going to be a psychologist. So, because let me like the first thing was that I like talking to people. I'm very good at it. I'm very good at making people open up, and I believe that as people, we have a lot of traumas,
Yes.
so besides politics actually was an add-on. So when you're doing a BA degree, you need to choose specific modules to add on. My main major was what? Psychology. So you choose two majors. You understand? So I thought my
Yes.
psychology was my main thing, and then let me just add politics because talking, it wasn't even anything
Okay.
thought about. So let me be very honest. So yes, it's quite shocking that you see me doing IR and politics, but psychology was actually my main baby. That was my passion. And then I was like, yo, like when I researched further, and this is why a lot of, us marginalized type of people that come from marginalized schools and all of that, maybe, research is an issue. I thought getting a degree, maximum honors, then I'm going to be a psychologist. When I was like, it's like basically being a doctor, there's so many processes until you
Yes.
actually become a proper qualified psychologist and allowed to practice. That for me was like a hell no. So I was like, oh, no, no, no. And then one of my modules that I had was philosophy because I wanted to open my mind. And my family and my cousin helped me
Yes.
choose the module. So I don't really care. And I remember, sure, yeah, a lot of people failed here. And I was one of the people, like maybe this, 30% who actually qualified to write an exam, and others failed before. And
Amazing.
we had to then prove that God doesn't exist. That was one of the
Oh
essays,
my
and then I
gosh.
failed. So then that's how I failed. I then failed, well, not failed overall, but I'm just saying I failed that module. That's the only thing I failed within
Yeah.
my 4 years in varsity. And then obviously I had to now substitute it. So now I went back and I'm like, guys, I don't know how to substitute. Oh my goodness, And then my cousin was like, oh, you know what? My friend, who's actually now my girlfriend, actually did international relations. And then they're like, it's actually a very good course. Like, let's read. So I spent time reading. I'm like, oh, United Nations. Oh, okay. States engaging. Oh, okay. This actually is more of what I think I would enjoy.
Yes.
As opposed to just plain, national politics. Who really, like, I don't want to be part of it. I come from an ANC background, like at home political, but I didn't care for it. So
Yeah.
psychology was out, politics was like, is there even money? How do I get in there? Because for me to be in politics, it's not like I need to be educated. I just need to know the right connections and be active in
Yeah.
varsity, in SRC and all these things, and then kabane comrade. So I was
Yeah.
like, for me, it's not going to do much. But I was like, international relations. And then basically that's how it came about. I was like fascinated and I was like, And then I had like a long term strategy to it, And I was like, if I become famous, if I become famous and then I am an
Mm,
influencer, So it was
yes.
basically, it was all of that. And now the older I get, that's how I could do my honors and finish it. And then because I'm like, I want to be a philanthropist. And then I would have studied it.
Definitely.
And then I'm like famous, Then, all of
Mm-hmm.
these things started coming in my head. Then I was like, Miriam Makeba. Miriam Makeba, who just testified in the United Nations, and she's my role model.
Yes.
And then I was like, Yvonne Chaka Chaka was a musician as well. She is now also like, a goodwill ambassador. Then I was like, Nomza Mombat is my other third role model. So I looked at it
Mm-hmm.
from that perspective, and that's what kept me going. And it's still what I want to basically do. So it's actually international relations, so international politics, is basically
Oh,
is what I like. I would like to retire in the next few years, maybe working in the UN, just because it will give me the footprint to make, take Africa internationally and make a true
yes.
impact and be an ambassador. Yeah. So from that perspective.
Oh my gosh, I love the point that you made that you didn't even know what you were gonna do with politics. And can we backtrack to that
Yeah.
where you then like how did you then get to a point where you is it because you spoke to your cousin and then your cousin
Yeah.
linked you up to someone that knew
Yeah.
what political relations people do, that you now knew that, okay, this was the career for me? Because when I got to Wits, I started doing mining engineering and I didn't know what I was going
Yeah.
to do, but I knew I didn't want to work on a mine. And then I went on to do metallurgy,
Yeah.
metallurgical engineering. But
Yes.
when I went for a plant visit, I saw that I was still going to be in the mines. It was going to be hot. I didn't
Exactly.
like the work. And so it took me a whole 3 years for me to understand the career. So for somebody who's going to go into first year next year and get the shock of
Yeah.
their life, what advice would you give them? Because you now speak of your role models, but somebody had to guide you to get to those role
Of
models. So
course.
if you could like take us through that process.
Yeah. So I think for me personally, like so in giving a person advice, I think before you even get to first year, if you can in high school, start there and research thoroughly about your career. It was easy for all of us to say, I want to be a doctor, but do not really know what that actually means and the sacrifices, because all we
Mm,
see is the title and wearing the stethoscope and all of that. And you'd be so childish about it. I want to be a lawyer, and you see yourself wearing the gown and getting
yes,
admitted into the high court, but you don't actually understand the actual part of it. And being a doctor for me is like the biggest example that I always make, because I have friends who are doctors and they're just like, guys, it's not like what it seems. It needs to be like something that God gives you as a gift, because there's
yes,
so much
yes,
sacrificing, and there's not as much money that people think there's money. We just keep the status and the look, but it's actually, especially when you're practicing and have your own practice, unless if you want to become a surgeon, right? Um,
definitely, definitely.
yeah. So for me personally, my biggest mistake, and if I could have, I would have done this. I would have in high school already started doing research. When you have those holidays before you
Yes,
get to matric, because in matric now you're going to start schools and extra lessons. But before that, it's not as hectic. From grade 10, when you become a senior, grade 11, I would personally would take those holidays and use them wisely and job shadow a person who's in the field, or at least the two fields that I want.
mm-hmm.
Find a mentor, go to a varsity, speak to a lecturer, and understand what is the actual study in terms of the content of the actual studying, and then have another person helping me to understand ukuthi, what is the day-to-day work. And obviously, because they're not probably going to be on holiday as you are, you go with them to the office and ask to assist and work and see what's, oh, okay, this basically is what happens. You understand? So I think now we need to stop letting people just read. Obviously you apply for three things. Hey, whatever that takes me. And that's where the problem is. Before you can even choose those three options, you need to know what actually happens in the field. From the salary,
Yes.
where can you work, what is your day-to-day work, and stuff like that. So we need to be fully educated in terms of what that is. I work with an organization where basically they help high school students, so from grade 10 all the way to matric in obviously marginalized schools, black schools that are not don't have the research or the knowledge, and help them understand those fields before they select them or before they go to varsity. So for me personally, that would be that. If you're already in
Yes.
first year, if you're already in first year, still, that was my other biggest mistake, because the minute you come out, the reason why you can't find a job is because you don't have the experience. Go in
Mm-hmm.
between those holidays. You don't know usually what's going to happen next term, right? So you can't really study
Yes.
ahead. Use those holidays wisely. I really wish I started media then. I really wish I went to go offer, even if it was just the World Bank or WHO, whatever it is in the United
Mm,
Nations. I would have done that. And it does not take anything. Have a LinkedIn account soon as possible whilst you're in school. Students doing this, and approach people if you do not have connections on the side. So do not waste it. Go into
definitely.
first year. And another thing is that I know of so many people. I know of this lady. She's a brilliant journalist, one of the best in the country. She was in my class in English. And she used to do medicine, and she changed along the way. So you can still change. You can be accredited for this and change. So as soon as you can in first year, see if this is actually what you really would want to be in. Because nothing is more painful than finishing the degree and then you're like, oh snap, I should have. you know?
That's true. That's true. I
Yeah.
want us to backtrack to, because I was going to ask you the question, what about the marginalized kids who don't have resources? Because
Yeah.
I am from, like, in the Eastern Cape. I'm from one of the uh I'm from the poorest region in the Eastern Cape, actually, Alfredo. And whenever I go back home to the Eastern Cape, I find that there are all these kids who are from child-headed families, who don't have people to guide them. They don't have the money to be able to say, okay. And if from that region, like, the most successful people are probably teachers and doctors, and some of them don't live in the region. So then my then question would be, and you spoke about your friend who works for an organization, maybe you could tell us about that organization, and maybe we could also, like, talk to your friend to, like, tell us about other organizations in other regions, because you find that here in Gauteng, that information is easily accessible. Like, the government here is very involved. You have VIT students going to Soweto to teach children about careers, teaching them, tutoring them. But in some regions, they're not that fortunate. So what organization does your friend work at, and how can people access that organization?
Yeah. I think the organization I'm talking about is our shape. In 2019 we partnered up together, and I was donating books, so we partnered up with them and the Department of Transport, if I'm not mistaken, and we went to Amos Mapanga. That's where I helped start a library. And they have like 1.2 students, so you can just imagine they don't have a library, and that's
Yes.
just the unfortunate thing. So it's hard to say, how can those people find a way to benefit if they do not know. It's like the famous saying, my people die of a lack of knowledge. It is then our place as people who came from that background. Obviously with me, I probably went to, Model C schools, but probably stayed in a nice
Yes.
house and had an educated mother, but I still know the in- the the impacts of them. When I go to my granny's house, my granny used to teach in that school. So I already know. And that's when my first initiative started, in a school that my granny would teach in at Talukolo in KZN.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to say they would know, but they don't know.
Yes.
So it could only literally be us people,
Going back.
who going back. And that's the aim of going back. And this is why God will give you a story or give you a calling, or put something in your heart and say go back, because some of them may not know. If I didn't go to that school in Amos Mapanga where they stayed for years and not had a library and had that discussion with the students, they would have never known. Or our shape discovering them, they would have never known. So I could
Yes.
love to say do research, but do they have a laptop or they're aware of Google? But the one thing that we
Yeah.
also need to know is that eventually we are evolving. Even
Yes.
in my farm, in the farms, eventually there will be a time where there will be these things. And I mean, I have family that also comes from there, or people that I know. It's getting better, because everything is moving digitally, for IR and everything. Eventually they will get there. And for me, what I've seen, especially in varsity, you do get people that come from rural areas and they literally will knock us out in terms of school.
Definitely.
They're
Oh,
always the ones who will be ahead of
mm,
us. So we can't also go ahead and undermine, but it doesn't take away that
true.
there are some people that do not know. So we
Yes.
need to be the people that know what's happening. We need to go back and go. So our shape does that.
Yes.
You understand? Maybe not too much in rural areas, but maybe in the townships. And I won't lie, I haven't really touched in rural areas as yet. I've done township projects because it's near reach and what I'm aware of. So we need people like, as you were talking about yourself, for you to go back to those areas and see how you can develop,
Yes.
So
Um, I thank you so much for that answer. So now, on an offline conversation, I will ask you on, like, I will need your help on our foundation that my mom and I started called
oh,
Fikelela, where
lovely.
yeah, where we try and encourage youth and try and, but with COVID, it hasn't done much, unfortunately.
That's
But
that's all of
yes.
us. Yeah, it's so hard.
So
It's so hard.
it
COVID has
is.
really thrown us off. But yeah, I've been getting
Yeah.
excited. Let's talk offline. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so now I want to know where, like you said, you actually said a lot of people would think that you're successful in inverted commas, but I would like you, I would want you to tell us, do you think you're successful, and define what success means to you? Because I find a lot of the time that a lot of the time people think success is money. People, and I'm not taking away
Yep.
from money. We need money to be able to live our best lives, but and also sometimes people think success is when you get recognized by people of a high stature, or but what is success? Mm.
Sure. This is such a difficult question for me because I think I would like you the way you were phrasing it first to say what is success to you, because
Yes.
you can't define success by classifying or grouping people or grouping the definition or the
Mm-hmm.
understanding. It can only be something that you can define for yourself according to experience, what you want, etc.,
Definitely.
etc. And I think another thing is that remember that the older we get, the more we experience things, the wiser we become. So you can ask me today on the 12th of September 2021, and then ask me again next year, and the next 10 years it probably will be different. But
Yes.
from where I am at the moment, I would define success as, yeah, it's like saying you're going to Pick and Pay. Yonela, let's both be going to one Pick and Pay. And then Yonela says, no, I take the left turn, and I say I take the right turn. But we're both going there. We might not get there at the same time, but we're going there. So destination,
Yes.
right? So the
Yes.
concept of your destination. I would say, and to me personally, success is doing what I love. And doing
Yes.
what I love, not just doing what you love though, it doesn't end there, because a lot of people will say doing what
Mm.
you love. We all can do, so doing what you love could be sitting and staring at the laptop the whole day.
Or
Right?
lying at the beach and
And lying at
watching the
the
sea.
beach. That's my point,
Exactly.
so you can't define that as a success, so it can't end there. So doing what you love and doing it well,
Yes.
being fulfilled, being happy,
Mm-hmm.
but the most important factor is doing something that you're doing it well, but within your purpose. You can't take away purpose from success. You
Yes.
understand? Because now that's when you then become the person who's sitting at the beach. That can't be your purpose unless if you sitting at the beach is there to speak to people who are not okay and who are going through pain. You understand?
Mm,
And God
yes.
said, go sit at the beach every day from 10 to 12 and encourage people. Different story.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to define your purpose. You need to know your purpose for you to be successful. Right? Because remember
Yes.
that purpose is not about money, as you're saying, but it's doing
Mm.
something that God said, I'm putting you here on earth. Otherwise, you would not be here. He's not a stupid God. He put you here because you need to fulfill something. You're part of a bigger picture. So if you are not living in your purpose and actively working towards it, then you are not moving towards success. Because you can be
Yes.
working at a good job, getting 6 7 figures for all I know, and you're a CEO, but then you're really just doing it like you doing it in your sleep, and you don't really care about what you're doing. You get what I'm saying? Is it really your
Yes.
purpose? So your purpose
Yes.
is mostly important. We can obviously speak about milestones. So I once heard of a great definition where someone was like, we need to change the concept of, as we were saying, it's not about money, but doing something like a worthy ideal and you are continuously trying to reach it. And I think when I was looking at this question, I started thinking about, would you then define someone like Nina Simone successful? Will you define someone like Chris Hani as successful? Will you define someone like Steve Biko as successful? Will you define someone as Martin Luther King as successful? These were people who were fighting for something. Let's leave Nina Simone. I'll come to her now. But let's speak about Chris Hani, Steve Biko, and Martin Luther King. I'll just stop there in terms of examples, right?
Yes.
These people were working towards a movement, but they were assassinated, right? So they did not
Yes.
maybe see the outcome of freedom as much as they wanted to.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
So they didn't really touch in terms of put a finger, dip your tongue on it, whatever, and then touch. They didn't touch the freedom. Unlike maybe Nelson Mandela, and that's a relative discussion, about is he
Yeah.
really a true leader? Let's leave that one out. But Thabo Mbeki, Cyril Ramaphosa, who was involved in the struggle, Nabo Jacob Zuma. But those people, did Steve Biko actually see the movement? He was there for Black consciousness. He was part of the journey, but it didn't reach the final thing because he died. So
Yes.
success sometimes you could be. So this is why I decided to change it. What if I'm not given that much time to see it being what I envisioned to be? So it has to then
Definitely.
be reaching small milestones on a day-to-day basis consistently and seeing growth bit by bit towards that big ideal that you have. You understand? So
Yeah.
that's how I would then look at success, because Chris Hani had this big thing with hey, but he was
Mm.
assassinated. But in us who are alive now, we like that man was successful because he did not see what he was fighting for, but then he had the movement, he had the mentality, and he worked towards the goal each and every single day. Same thing with Martin Luther King.
Yes.
He didn't see it. The one thing that he wanted was freedom. End goal for his success was freedom. Then he can die in peace, but he died before that. But can you say he's not
Yes.
successful? No, he was.
True.
And then you get someone like Nina Simone. I think 2 months back I was watching, I think it was on Netflix. I was watching, I love Nina Simone, by the way, music and mentality. This is now, but I will make an example. And I could be wrong. This is Londiwe Khuzwayo's view. Nina Simone was really brilliant in playing the piano, and she had a teacher, who taught her and mastered it. She could play it in her sleep. So we can call it a talent slash gift God gave her, but then she solidified it and purified it, right? But
Yes.
Nina Simone, towards the end, suffered with severe depression, started drinking, heavily smoking. And there was a time where Nina Simone woke up and said, I freaking hate the piano.
Oh,
Yeah? Right?
yeah.
But we know Nina Simone to be like, what? Nina Simone and music. I don't consider Nina
Yes.
Simone to be successful. But you know what I consider her to be successful in? The fact that Nina Simone came to Africa to be happy and started using her music. Basically, what was bothering her the most in life was the lack of freedom and the struggles of her people. And then she fought through that using her music and her influence, and died not having money, but died in peace. She came to
Yeah.
Africa, spent time on the beach, and stopped doing music. They were literally forcing her to do music towards the end, but she was not there. So for me, Nina Simone actually was not a successful musician, but I was a revolutionist. You understand?
Yes.
And a person who was like, screw it. What I care about is going back to Africa, being in my roots, living and fighting for my people. You understand what I'm saying? So
Yes.
success needs to be viewed from those different
The,
perspectives. She was content, she
yes.
was happy, it was her purpose. So she really, her
Yes.
purpose actually was the struggle. Same thing with Miriam Makeba. She's like, I love music. She's a good musician, but I respect Miriam Makeba more. Miriam Makeba more because of the movements. Braju Masigela speaks about our kids will know that once upon a time we were Africans. His main purpose was he was good at playing, the being in music and jazz, but he knew of a bigger purpose. So when you know of that purpose and doing something that is fulfilling to you and you can die in peace, that for me is true success. So would
I
I consider
cannot
myself, yeah, sorry?
successful. No, no, continue.
Yo. So would I consider myself successful? I'm very hard on myself. That's one thing. So I would say yes, for 30% maybe. I need to still work on consistency because I think success is consistency as well. I'm still continuously discovering my purpose, but because first of all, I know my purpose is in life. And I could tell you from the bottom of my head, so I know my purpose in life. I have the proper mindset to work towards it. So I would
Yes.
say I am successful. Have I reached that? No. May I die having reached 100%? Probably not. Maybe I'll reach 80%. I still pray to God for life because I'm like, there's still so much I need to do.
To do,
So,
yeah.
but when you think of Londiwe Khuzwayo, what must come to your mind? You must think mogul,
Yes,
philanthropist,
girl.
You get what I'm
Yes.
saying? So,
Yes.
so for me, success is that thing. When you sit and you quiet, when someone says Yonella, they must think about this podcast manufactured in Africa. You understand? Before, like, they mustn't
Yes.
even think far. So when I speak to people, they'll be like, all on Londiwe fashion, all on Londiwe media, all on Londiwe MC. So in that sense,
Yeah.
yes, I may not be great or be international or may have left a big legacy yet. But people, bit by bit, when they think about me, it's associated with something. And
Yes,
that for
yes,
me,
yes.
I will say that I am successful. I have not been consistent and I have not reached the pinnacle. For me, success, as much as it's not about money, but it needs to be something also that can be done when I'm not there. So, can
Yes.
my businesses make it with me in my sleep? People are being fed, lives are being changed through it, people overseas are purchasing, I've got people working for it. Yeah, but also forever young, right? So if I would die,
Definitely.
I want to be able to die. If I die, can my NPO continue? Can my
Yes.
businesses continue and make a living? Can I be Googled and say Londiwe maybe founded ABCD? She's not here, but it still continues. So
Thank you so much.
until I reach that, we're still on the way. 40%, 40%. And it's got nothing to do with the money. Because I don't
Yeah.
have that much money yet. So yeah.
I can't add any more, and we're a bit over time, but I need to ask you these
Yeah.
two questions because these are the
Yeah.
questions for this podcast. You can't leave without answering them. So, in a nutshell,
Yes.
like I have so much I want to say to you, but it's fine. We can say it some other time or it
Yeah.
offline. But what I would like to
Yeah.
know is what makes you proudly African, not just proudly South African,
Ooh.
but proudly African. And what would you consider the African brand to be? What would you say is the African brand?
Difficult but beautiful questions. Because I consider myself to be a person who has Africa rooted in them, whether I like it or not. you
Mm-hmm.
know. Um, what makes me proudly African? What makes me proudly African is the fact that first and foremost we overcame. We are overcomers of colonialism. There's nothing that has been
Hallelujah.
more difficult. I'm running a women's program and I was speaking about, just mentioning the traumas of apartheid in South Africa and slavery, overall, and colonialism throughout
Yes.
Africa. We've overcame. There's still traumas, but we've overcame it. And there's no one who can touch us. That for me is the biggest thing. So in the sense that look back, just take some time, because we round about the same age, right?
Yes.
We used to we used to watch about Taina, that's so Raven, one on
Exactly.
one, And I know I was reading this question and I was like, yo, and that time now we're all about Moja Love, yo, Smile, yo, the queen. You know what I'm saying? Like we have overcome the being swallowed by the westernized life, And that's what I learned in international relations, because at Wits, the lecturers are anti-West with everything. So when I look at that, I'm like, wow, we've actually come a long way. There was a time where we wanted to all wear
Yes,
baggy jeans, have, straight hair. I used to try force relax my hair. Now I'm like, no. I love my African look. I love ABCD. So
definitely.
we have, we were once, we suffered being, they tried to destroy us through
Yes,
colonizing us, right? But then the next thing, you know how they say you become what your abuser forces you to be, you be that. So we were like that at some point. We became westernized, wanted to rap like American artists and sing like them, dress like them. And then out of the
yeah,
blue, guys, what our ancestors fought for, about Steve Biko, the black consciousness, for example, it's back here, or the African way of doing things, not even just black people, but just whites and everything. That's why we have that I'm staying group, one of the best groups
yes,
on social media. So we have, as much as there still will be issues of racism, it can't just disappear. Remember that there's people from
yes,
the past passing on to their kids, so it's hard to break that. But we have the unity. We're seeing
mm-hmm.
interracial couples. We're seeing people, black and white businesses, partnering up to start big corporate
Yes,
businesses and whatnot, right? And it's just that we have unity. We've overcame the Western way. We want the African way, and that's what matters.
yes,
So that's why I'm proudly African, because our roots are so in us that as much as they tried to destroy us, or we nearly even swallowed ourselves in our African pride, it still came back because it's within us. We woke, bro. you know,
yes,
we woke.
yes,
Yeah. And
yeah,
just to close up on the African brand, for me, it is the African brand is whatever is by Africans for Africans,
yes,
and it's literally just that. And when I'm saying for them, I mean that you need to, when you're doing something, I'm not go like literally in terms of a brand. So I'm a Xhosa DJ Sbu, when Watching
yes,
does More Fire or Theo Baloyi, you basically start a brand that will need you to research on how Africans live. You understand?
mm-hmm.
You understand their
Yes,
lifestyle, you understand their background, you understand their buying power, you understand their mentality, you understand the look. You
yes,
understand what being African is, and you design something for that, not copying something from outside, but in the context of African people in Africa. And you
yes,
hire African people. You want to push the African economy. You want to take Africa internationally. You want everything to revolve. You want to break the cycle of poverty of Africans by employing them. They will take care of their people, educate the other people in their household. Do you understand? So it's that
yes,
vicious cycle. The African brand is for the people, by the people who are Africans. So for Africans, by Africans, for the long-term strategy of Africans and the growth and the breaking of cycles of impoverishment and etc. etc. So
Thank you
yeah,
so much, Londi. I think I will leave it there. There's nothing else I could say. Thank you for coming on. And if you want
thank
to
you.
give your social media handles, you can put them here if you want. But thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you so much. I had a really good time, very great initiative, as I said, and I wish you nothing but the best in it. And I hope people would have learned something, especially a young person listening to this. You can catch me on Facebook, Londiwe Khuzwayo. You can also catch me I am available on Instagram. My IG handle is Londi underscore Khuzwayo. And on Twitter, it's LTS underscore Khuzwayo.
Catch us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and our YouTube channel. It's Manufacturing Africa. Africa, 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 Africa.